One of the things that we've done in programs in the past is I talked to Mick and asked him to brief Victor on the kind of drawing we think we'd like Victor to do. This is a bit of a long run out to this one, so Victor's in the warmth of his home back there, but we're going to be sending this part of the blog over to Victor, and Mick's going to be talking to Victor and me as though Victor was here, and I've got a piece of highly expensive permatrace paper and a indelible pen, and I'm going to be asking Mick what sort of picture he thinks we ought to be drawing of here. What did it look like in the past?
Right then.
Plan, structure, that sort.
Plan.
Or...
Well, we could start with the plan. I mean, the church is going to be essentially a big lecture theatre, really, a preaching hall. So what we've got is the corner and then the arcade of the aisle. There's then...
And what date is this, Mick, we're thinking of?
This is 13th century, about, it seems to be about 1290, something like that. There's then, of course, the chancel end, which is where the friars meet for their services. But because this is like...
Can we sort of put it somehow flat? And so Daniel gets a chance to have a look as well as you do it.
There's usually some arrangement in the middle to keep the noise away from the preaching going on in here.
So this is like a big church.
Yeah. Right. I'll do a sort of 3D thing in a moment.
Okay.
And then there's one or more cloisters attached to this. In a lot of them, there's a space between the church and the cloister, because the cloister is essentially a quiet working area. A lot of the teaching and all that sort of stuff and bookkeeping goes on in there. So you don't want the noise again of the preaching to interfere.
And this preaching would be going on 6-7 times a day? Is it those like known sects?
No, that's going on in here.
Right.
That's the except with the friars, that because their job is to be out in amongst the population, looking after the population, it probably isn't as rigorous as that. Okay. So it's something like that I'm looking for.
And if we'd have been sat here in the 12th century, would we have heard them singing monastic playing songs?
Probably the antiphons, things like that. Yeah. In here, with the choir stalls, the altar at the end, that sort of thing.
Cue special effects and music, Daniel. So, Okay, yeah, next stage.
Well, what I was going to say was that because these are public institutions, really. Yes. I mean, the friars are the last groups of religious orders to come along, and they're very much a reaction to the wealth of the previous orders. Yeah. I mean, St. Francis starts out by thinking that there's not enough attention to the poor, there's not enough attention to living like Christ.
And our guys were Franciscans.
Ours were Franciscans, which means
Grey friars.
Grey friars. St. Francis of Assisi is the founder. Yeah. And so their job is to minister to the public, to minister to the population. Right. So they're not meant to be wealthy, they're not meant to be separated off, they're not meant to have big estates and big incomes coming in. Okay,
and would this structure have had a posh roof with nice windows and a tower?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a reconstruction here. Okay. I mean, there's a variety of reconstruction from something that's very, very simple at Denby right through to the poshest thing at London. But you'll notice that the essential element is this huge, great nave where the preaching or the teaching or the proselytising
takes place. And you've
place.
Seen the geophysics and the sketch plan that the guy did in the past. Yeah. Which one of these?
I think we're probably looking at something like one of these, with some sort of central tower, some sort of crossing in the middle, and then a very simple chancel. Which you see, it doesn't have aisles, it doesn't have chapels, it's just a simple room as I've drawn it there. Okay. But this is a big capacity space.
And could you just draw? One of the problems with this is that we would have to clear this.
No, I can draw it up because if
Lawrence Butler, could you draw a 3D version of this?
Lawrence wouldn't mind, but if
he might not, but his publisher might. So
the CBA is the publisher.
Okay.
So there's the the.
Give it a push.
No, it's not there. It's got water on it. There's the big nave, if you like. You'd have to have, I think, a little crossing tower of some sort in there.
Yeah.
And a sort of probably transepts coming out like that.
Yeah.
And then on the front of it, a much more simple nave. And that's just the church. We haven't drawn the cloister.
And a front door.
And a door here for the local populations to come in.
Yeah.
Big windows all down the side to light it, because it is electrical.
Put that the right way up.
Well,
and what we discussed.
It's not the best example to show people, is it?
No, well, it's all right. It was it's a work in progress. And we were saying we rather like the idea of putting a cliff line in here, slightly crumbling.
Well, that's right. I mean, the cliff line would be. Let's just see where we.
Because this is north, south, east, west.
Yeah, I mean that's east.
Yeah.
That's west.
Yeah.
So our cliff line is here.
Yeah.
Advancing this way.
Yes.
And I mean, it hasn't reached the Friary yet.
And are these guys, is there a monastum valerium?
Probably just a simple wall. And actually, flying around in the helicopter yesterday, you could see very clearly that it was roughly a sort of triangular sort of shape like that. And bits of the wall are still left over there, look, around it.
And this would be, it's funny, what does that wall keep out, or does it just contain the sacred space? Or
it just contains the sacred space.
Yeah.
Because the public are coming into this, and indeed these chaps are going out all the time
through the big gates.
Through the big gates
behind us,
because their job is to minister to the population.